دکتر میتونیم شروع کنیم. We can start.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good day, everyone. Welcome to today's session of the Insurance Book Cafe. I'm Mohsen, and it is my great pleasure to be with you and hosting for this special webinar. Today, we are truly honored to have with us a legend of the London reinsurance market, Mr. Keith Riley, veteran treaty specialist and author of the highly regarded book, Reinsurance, the Nuts and Bolts, which I personally read it and several times and enjoyed a lot and recommend to everyone. Keith's professional journey spanned a decade of hands-on experience in treaty business, placing him among the most respected authority in our field. His work has guided generations of reinsurance professionals through the complexities of quota share, excess of loss, and treaty operation, not just in theory, but in real-world practice. In this session, Keith will take us behind the scene of how reinsurance really works. We will have also extended question and answer toward the end. So please feel free to drop your question in the chat box available here. We will make sure to get to as many as we can. Keith, it's absolute privilege to have you here with us today. Thank you for joining us in Insurance Book Cafe. Let's dive into the world of reinsurance. Keith, you're the pro.
It's a pleasure to be here. Welcome, everybody. Good. Well, I can see some of you. As Mohsen asked me to do this webinar. I've never done one before, so I don't really know exactly how it's going to develop. But first of all, I was asked to talk about my early career. I'm sure most of you know that I was in Tehran for some time in my younger days. So I actually left school at the age of 16. These days everybody goes to university, but I wanted to leave school at 16 and start work immediately. A friend of mine, because I had, like most teenagers, I had no idea what I wanted to do. And so a friend of mine was going to join an insurance broking firm in London. And I thought maybe I could do that. So I wrote to Sedgwick and asked if they had any vacancies. And they wrote back and they invited me for an interview. And so I joined Sedgwick just on the facultative team of the reinsurance department in 1973. And it was very, very simple work. I felt after a few years, I thought, well, I know this job, but it's not really going anywhere. And so I actually applied for a posting that was advertised in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. And I didn't get that, but the chairman offered me a posting to Tehran instead. And so I worked for a small firm in Iran called Irano-British Insurance Services. It was strange for me because having dealt with just facultative reinsurance, I didn't really understand insurance very much. I had no exposure to direct clients. I'd never even been away from my home, so I didn't even know how to live abroad. And so I spent 5 or 6 months in Tehran. And then when I went back to London, I joined a treaty team, and I felt that was really my kind of home. And I worked with the Middle East, I worked with Iranian companies, before and after the
الان
revolution.
ارتباط آخوندی
And I don't know, the people that I worked with there will all have retired by now. Maybe some of the names are familiar to you. Mehdi Alavi was at the Bime Markazi, and yeah, that was good fun. And then at some point I decided I needed a change from the Middle East, and I was offered a position to look after the technical team on Latin America. So I had to learn Spanish to do that, which I did. And that was being on that team. It was really the start of how the book idea came about, because at one stage I was asked to go to Brazil to give some training on reinsurance. And again, it was something I've never done before. Now in Brazil they don't speak Spanish, they speak Portuguese, but the languages are quite similar because they're located right next door to Argentina. So I went there and I gave my lectures in a kind of mixture of Portuguese, English and Spanish. But before I went, I was talking to an underwriter in London, a good friend called John Lambert, who used to work at a company called the British and European Re. And he said to me, if anybody asks you to give away your lecture notes, don't give them, because a friend of mine did some lectures in Russia and they asked for his lecture notes and then they published them in a book and made a lot of money. So when I was in Brazil, somebody said, can I have your lecture notes? And as a joke, I said, no, you have to wait for my book to be published. Yeah, I wasn't intending to actually write a book, but at that point about 50 people rushed forward and gave me their business cards and said, when you publish the book, please let me know and I'll buy a copy. So when I got back to London, I decided to change all of my notes into a book, and then I was just going to photocopy it and send it to people, but somebody said to me, if you approach a publishing company, I'm sure they'll publish it. And so I did, and really that's just the way the book happened. It was one of those accidental things that happen to people's life, and I still get asked for it to this day. So it's been good for me. It also helped my career in other ways, because I went to other companies on the strength of that, and on the reputation that I gained. It's rather overwhelming, but anyway, there you go. I'm not sure, Mohsen, if you know what else you want to say. I think it's a bit ambitious to.
Keith, you talk about your secondment in Irano-British Insurance Services in Tehran. Please tell us about your experience living in Tehran, and almost all of the people in the webinar know Mr. Mehdi Alavi. He is a very nice gentleman. Actually, he retired many years ago, but he is a very good friend of mine.
Okay. Yeah. Well, as I said, when I went to Tehran, I was 20 years old. And I had never lived away from my family. I had no experience of the world at all. And I had no experience of really dealing with insurance clients. So immediately I was being sent out to insurance company, to direct clients, to look at their policies and give them advice based on the very, very little knowledge that I had. When I look back, I think it was crazy. And one day, I was even asked to go and do a survey report on a factory. I remember it well. It was called the Iran Panel Company, and I was driven there. Irano-British was a partnership. And I don't really remember the names of the partners, Khosrow Jahi, I think, something like that. But we shared an office with a gentleman called Manucher Naderi, and he had an insurance brokerage of his own. And his driver took me to this place. I can't remember where it was, but I knew some survey reports that the company's proper surveyors have done. And you read them in the car going there, and then you'll know what to do. And so, and that's what I did. I just read these reports. I vaguely knew that I had to take some measurements and make a note of the various chemicals and how they were stored, and fire protections and sprinklers and that kind of stuff. So I did that, and it turned out okay, I guess. But yeah, it was a very strange experience for me. And of course, I had no idea of the language. Farsi, I could not, speak a word of it. And so we were given a little list of things that you could say to a taxi driver. It was just mad, really.
There is no problem. We share some few words in Farsi. Taxi is taxi here, no problem.
Yeah, that's right. But I don't know if you're aware, but I'm sure you are aware, Mohsen. My wife is from Iran.
Really?
Oh, you weren't aware of that? Oh, okay. So, yeah, we've now been married for 47 years.
Very good, very good. So
she worked in our office as a secretary.
Mm-hmm.
47 years we've been married. It's been good. Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. My first day, I went to meet a lovely young lady called Miss Amin, and she was at the I think it was something like there was one called the Yorkshire Insurance Company. Yorkshire, yeah, and I met her on the first day, and I was really just bluffing everything,
Let's turn into the reinsurance mode. Please tell us, how do you approach the balance between retaining enough risk to stay critical, how much to cede to the reinsurance companies to protect the portfolio from volatility?
Right. Well, things have changed a lot in recent years. In fact, a lot of the stuff that I've written in the book would, if I had the opportunity to rewrite it, I would probably change it. The actual figures I can't really recall the figures. It's 9 years since I've been working. What I used to do basically was take things like the Swiss Re guide, and they would say something like, you should not expose your capital, your shareholder, or more than 2% or 3% of your shareholders' funds to any particular loss scenario. Um, they have 5 or 6 different rules, which you can easily look up. The Swiss Re have their own rules, but they're very, very generally applied across the market. Reinsurance, certainly in the Middle East, used to all be about having massive surplus treaty capacity. Sometimes a quota share treaty, but more usually a line of retention that was relatively small, and then sometimes there could be 3 surplus treaties with about 40 lines of capacity each. You won't really see that anymore today. In fact, at the time I left the insurance industry 9 years ago, it was really getting to a stage where everything was moving towards excess of loss protections. I think, generally speaking, it was certainly true in the Middle East that the markets were not sufficiently developed to do without proportional reinsurance. But it's really changed an awful lot since then. I mean, catastrophes didn't really happen very much in the Middle East. I remember the first time that they had very bad flooding in places like Oman, and it was totally unprecedented. And when I dealt with the Middle East, most companies had their big proportional program. They had a risk excessive loss program, and normally the catastrophe program covered about 3 or 4 risks, as a deductible, 3 or 4 risks above which you would be able to claim on the catastrophe program, because catastrophe perils were not really considered very much. And yet Iran has had some very bad earthquakes, and there's been flooding in places that you would never have expected it to occur. Oman, Kuwait, Jordan, they have all had massive floods. So things really changed in that respect. And the big important change that happened probably about maybe 15 or 20 years ago was the introduction of catastrophe event limits on proportional treaties. So when I was learning about reinsurance, I was told that proportional reinsurance is the cheapest form of catastrophe cover, because you recovered on every single risk in a catastrophe, every single risk loss that you had. And all of a sudden that changed. And now, according to my last information, you would basically have an event limit of 1 total risk limit in a catastrophe. And so it effectively meant that there is no catastrophe cover. You have to buy catastrophe cover on your entire portfolio, more or less. and that is the significant thing. And as I say, if I were to write the book again today, I would not be emphasizing that by having a quota share treaty, you are getting rid of your catastrophe exposure, because you're not these days. And the spreadsheet that I built to analyze a proportional program and compare its results, that was very, very heavily dependent upon getting the aggregate off the books. And so now that doesn't apply. So if I had to write the book again, I would certainly be changing that.
Very good. Keith, in my opinion, nothing tests the reinsurance structure like a real claim. Many professionals learn more from a single large loss than from a dozens of clear renewals. What is the memories that you can tell us about the largest claim you handled, or what made it complex, and what wording or structural lessons stayed with you from that experience?
Okay, well, that's quite a difficult one. I guess when I had two main jobs in reinsurance. First of all, so I was at Sedgwick for 25 years, and then I went to HSBC. They had an insurance broking firm then, and I was there for 12 years. But then when I left there, I went to a Lloyd's syndicate, and at that time, they had already bought their reinsurance, so I wasn't involved in the buying of the reinsurance. But what they had like a catastrophe bond, which was based on a market loss. So if the market loss from a particular area and a particular peril exceeded some huge amount, I mean, it was several $1 billion, I think, from memory, then we could collect, I think, $20 million overnight. And there was a massive earthquake in Japan. So this would have been in 20. I think it was in 2010. There was a huge earthquake in Japan, and that was incredible to me that we had this alternative reinsurance that I didn't really understand very much of, and we were able to make this claim on a group of investors, not even an insurance company, not a reinsurance company. It was a managed group of investors who had given this indexed catastrophe protection. And as soon as the whatever reporting agency it was, as soon as they said that this loss has gone above however many billion was the threshold, I just sent an email to the managers of this thing, and within about 2 days we had $20 million sitting in our account. It was an incredible thing. But in terms of claims, I never really got very much involved in claims. In fact, my biggest thing was when a large loss occurs, for many years you will be receiving requests from the reinsurers for updates. So when I was working on the Iranian account, there were always requests. There were some large fires at Jolfa and Khorramshahr warehouses and things like that. We were constantly being asked to do updates. But as regards claims, we really didn't get involved. The way we were organised, we had a technical team that was responsible for preparing the slips and the contract wordings and dealing with the client. We had the broking team, and they were the ones who went out into the London market with a slip and were getting lines, getting reinsurers interested. We had an accounting team, and we had a claims team. So whilst there was some overlap, the actual claims didn't really come into my area of responsibility.
So let's put it this way, Keith.
Mohsen, can you turn your volume up a little bit, Mohsen, because I'm not hearing you very well.
Yeah, I should be closer to the speaker.
That's better.
Yeah. So please, at that case, please, if you can recall any placement, any particular treaty structure that you were proud of, for example, in terms of the structure, the limit, the pricing, it turns out exactly right under the stress.
Well, let me think. Shortly after the Iranian Revolution, there was a situation in which because the revolution happened in February of 1979, and of course the reinsurance programs all renew on the 21st of March. So we were starting the renewal negotiations, and all of these companies were suddenly finding that the reinsurers were very nervous about continuing to do business. And so the capacity started to fall. And so what happened was that suddenly Bime Markazi came to us and said, look, we have a situation in which the various companies are unable to complete the placement of their reinsurance programs. So we want to take this into a thing called the Iranian National Reinsurance Pool. We will take all of those unplaced shares of the treaty programs, and we will protect them, and we will arrange an excess of loss reinsurance program to cover that. I honestly can't remember the limits. It was a very, very difficult placement to complete. We managed to complete it. I think this is when I first met Alavi. He came over. There was the guy in charge of Bime Markazi at that time, or the reinsurance buyer, was a fellow called Homayun Mashayekhi, and he came over with Mr. Alavi, and we did that placement. It was an excessive loss. It was like a catastrophe placement. It was very successful, and I think generally we managed the Iran situation very well in Sedgwick, and we went into partnership with Willis Faber, Um, and it was managed quite well. It was a purely excessive loss structure, so it was like a major catastrophe program. But say this was 40, 46, 47 years ago. I'm afraid I don't remember the structure of it.
Yeah, we heard about that structure, and after the revolution, the sanction continued, unfortunately, and we suffer a lot from sanctions. Uh, let's turn to our audience. Many of
Yeah.
the viewers today are from growing markets such as Iran, where we are actually a developing market. The data and the capacity are still developing. And among the people in the webinar, there are some youngsters. And what task or habit would you encourage young reinsurance professional to build early in their career? And what is the common pitfall that we should avoid?
I wasn't hearing you very well there, Mohsen.
I'm asking about your suggestion to our young audience. What is your suggestion to develop in their career, in their future career in the reinsurance industry?
Okay. Well, these days, if you're good at mathematics or good at computer sciences, then I would say the career opportunities in reinsurance have developed in very interesting ways. We didn't have any kind of catastrophe modeling software. We didn't have, or I had never heard of reinsurance actuaries. So what I was seeing at the end of my career was that we were employing graduates with really good mathematical skills, and they were immediately studying actuarial science. And I think that's a very, very important area. And when you're considering a career in reinsurance, you've really got to look at your own abilities and your own personality, because there are people who are naturally gifted at talking to others and doing business. Now, that's not me. The ones who are at that front end of the business process, the deal makers, they're the people who are going to be having the fantastic careers and earning an awful lot of money. But behind that, there's a whole group of opportunities. So you have your purely technical reinsurance, but you also have these fields opening up in actuarial science and catastrophe mapping and simulations. And I'm sure there are plenty of other things. I'm sure AI is another area where people will have applications to reinsurance or to the insurance industry in general. So the one thing I can think of in AI would be looking at patterns to maybe highlight areas of potential fraudulent claims and that kind of thing. But yeah, actuarial science is the one thing to go for. The other thing, which all of you must presumably have, is language skills. You obviously are all speaking and understanding English very well, or you wouldn't be on this call. I found that by learning Spanish, I really that was such a good thing for my career. Having a good legal background is another one. There are so many areas in the insurance industry that you can really have a good career in. Yeah, it would be nice if my son went into reinsurance. I could help him out, but he's a surveyor, so and not an insurance one.
What is his good name, if I may ask?
His name is Matthew. Yeah, he's a chartered surveyor.
Very good.
Yeah. But I was thinking if he went into the reinsurance industry, maybe I could help him, but he wasn't interested at all. He likes buildings and things.
Very good. So please, actually, I have run out of question. Kids, if you have any other idea, please talk about your conclusion, and we can go to question and answer session.
Yeah, let's go to the question and answers. And
Okay.
I just warn everybody, it's 9 years since I've been in reinsurance. So, I'll answer your questions as to the best of my abilities.
Yeah. So we heard some insights from Keith, and now we would love to hear from you. If you have any question, please feel free to type or raise your hand, or simply open your microphone and ask Keith.
This could be very short.
I want to invite all of the people to don't be shy. This is your chance to ask Keith directly about his experience and things you would like to know further on reinsurance or these things.
Oh.
خانم رضایی لطفاً بفرمایید میکروفونتون رو خودتون میتونید روشن کنین و
بله. Hi, Mr. Riley. Actually, yes, hello.
Hello.
Yes, Mr. Riley, I can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you too.
Thank you. Mr. Riley, I have a question. As you know, at least I don't remember, and I have not read in the books that any country in the world has been under sanctions for more than 4 decades. So, after these long years of sanctions, are in the insurance and reinsurance industry in the London or in America, if you have aware of, are they working on a mechanism to expand their market in a country like Iran or any other country in the world that are under sanctions? Because during the last 4 decades, we have not been able to use the capacity of London market or American market or even other big insurance markets in the world.
Yeah.
What is your solution for such a situation, such a, how can I explain that? Because we think we have been able to use this these capacities and work with the other insurance markets very well, irrespective of what politicians think about us. Thank you.
Okay. I think that when eventually the sanctions are lifted, there is going to be a huge surprise waiting for the London market, because I think, as far as I know, we are completely unaware of how the Iranian market has been coping without access to the international market. And I think it's going to be a learning experience for the London market more than anything else. I don't, unfortunately, see a solution. I don't think there is a way for to get round the sanctions, because the London market is so completely, their hands are tied. And as I say, I think it's a testament to the inventiveness of the Iranian people that you have managed to survive and prosper. And I genuinely think there are lessons that the international market will, when inshallah the sanctions are lifted. You know, we live in very, very difficult times, and if people are whatever governments they have, people just need a chance to get to know one another. I have a great admiration for Iranian people. I can hear you. I can't see you yet.
It's very loud. First of all, I want to mention that I really enjoy your books and my story, and I really appreciate your effort. Really thank you for the book, for interesting book that you actually write for us. Thank you so much. And I want to ask you a question, maybe it's different from other questions. I want to ask you something about your work. It's back in the past. Could you please rejoice again?
Yeah, okay. Again, very your microphone is a little bit low, but I think I got the gist of your question. Something like, what advice would you give to your younger self? One of those
Exactly, exactly.
I guess it's like anything in life. If you're starting why is it done this way? You know, when I first started, obviously, we didn't have English. we didn't expect our rapid communication was the telling. And I'm not sure if understand what a telex was, but we had to write a message, like a telegram, but it was basically long. So we had to write our messages on a pad in capital letters and send it down to the telex department. And they had to transcribe it and send it. We didn't have computers. We had papers.
Converte de onde a gente acredita, vai deixar essa cerveja.
آره خیلی واسه مورد
question or question
مثلا باید چی هم بود
good night for you
good time Mr. Riley I have a question for
9
you
and 50 Mr. G good night and 50 question
خیلی روانی میکنم نه اصلا بخاطر میگوش بودن شدن همش هم تکرار میکنم بعدش
من یکی چند تا نیست
بخوای چنین بعد سوال شد کلا برام سوال اینه توی مرکزی اصلا کلا امبرلا کاورج نداریم توی ایران حتما به رد میکنی ساجست میکنی تو ایران 500 هم نداریم به درد نمیخوره
تموم شد فکر کنم آخر غذا بلده
شد
جا که از من سوالم بپرسم
مثلا میدونه آقا That's fine.
Hello, Mr. Riley. I have a question for you. Do you suggest umbrella coverage issued by Central Insurance according to current situation of Iran's market? Sorry, I'm repeating. Do you suggest umbrella coverage issued by Central Insurance according to current situation of Iran's market?
منظورت از امبرلا کاورش چیه؟
پوشش
Reinsurance at the end of the day is all about stabilizing the company through bad times. Paying in when times are good. It's just like insurance, really. You pay your premiums when times are good. You collect your claims when times are bad. You just have to organize yourselves differently. To be honest, I'm even quite surprised. I think we were going to have this
فقط لطفا نامه رو به من میفرستی
2 or 3 years ago, and then it had to be cancelled.
ممنونم
No access to the internet. So you're in a difficult situation. I don't think you have any choice. I think
علی سلام امضا شده میتونی دانلودش کنی
operate as
اما
a
ببین
as a
من
mass market.
آزاد اجازه هم بگیر
Unless you have access to
چهار
markets,
ما 4 تا میخوایم حالا هر چقدر از بعد
other places.
سفارش داشتی اونا هم به جای خودش فردات شم دست
Next
بودم
question,
در
it's
ببخشید
say I'm doing my best.
چیز بریه یعنی یه لحظه
Thank you so much.
خواهش میکنم.
پرچم امور فنی رو بردم بالا.
نه حاجی آس نبود حالا با نهار بخور در بود
آره چطور
مثلا یه رو توضیح داد خوشحال شد.
یارو نفهمید
یارو با بستگی داره کل ساعتش
آره زود خوبه اینا خوبه
مثلا میگه خوبه
از گهواره تا بیل طلب دانش امیر المومنین هیدر شهرام بفرمایید از که گهواره تا بیل طلب دانش خیلی بد میشه آره خیلی با مزه است تعریف کرد
حرفی هم که میگه خانم دانش
خاطر تعریف میگه خیلی خوب یه بود هلیکوپتر خراب شد خریدم رو هلیکوپتر باتریشو عوض کردم به خدا دارم میگم یارو میگه آقا نمیشه که میگه شما امروزی برای قدیما نمیفهمید قدیم آنالوگ بود اینطوری این مسئله خب بذار اینجا رو ببین
موضوعش این بود در خصوص تایید حساب‌های فیمابین اتفاقی
نیستش الان بهش میگم
اصلا نامش موضوعش این بود در خصوص تایید حساب‌های فیمابین اتفاقی
تایید در خصوصش بکنید آره عالی
So, and I'm really struggling to remember this in detail, but one of my colleagues was developing this product which could be sold to farmers, and it was based on like futures contracts. So imagine you produce 100,000 tons of wheat. That's your schedule. You're going to produce 100,000 tons of wheat. And before you have even planted that wheat in the ground, you sell it on the futures market. And you get a particular price. Then
حجم فایلایی که گذاشتی برای مستندات
there's a bad loss. There's a hail.
حجم فایلاش زیاده
Usually a hailstorm loss.
فکر کنم این رنگ بود یادم نمیاد چرا بود فکر کنم آره اگه
Produce 100,000.
زیاد نبود که رنگش نمیکرد این کرد
You only produce 50%. Now,
مرسی
not only but you're still committed to delivering 100,000 tons of wheat. You've only got 50. What do you have to do? You have to buy 50,000 tons from somewhere else in order to fulfill your contract. So somebody was developing this product and say, okay, there are two elements to this. There is the production guarantee and there is the price guarantee. Because what if the price has gone up? So you were estimating X amount. You had forward sold your wheat for X amount per ton, and all of a sudden the price has gone up it's gone up by 20% because it's been a bad harvest for everybody. So not only do you have to pay for 50% of the lost production, but that 50% costs you 20% more. So this product was designed to do that, and it would have had a currency element too, because you might have to purchase that wheat from another country, paid in a different currency. But other than deals like that, and the fact that there is a general acceptance that obviously if you're dealing with another country, then there is a rate of exchange situation that you have to deal with, which really only is an excess of loss scenario because of proportional reinsurance. You pay the rate of exchange ruling on the day of payment, but with excessive loss, what's happening is that the value of your deductible may be eroded or inflated. Excuse me. As I was telling Mosa before we started the call, I've been recovering from a cold. Really, I may lose my voice or need to stop. Yeah. Anyway, that's the best answer I can offer at the moment.
Yeah, thank you for your answer. I think the good news for you here is that we have only one question left. This is, I promise, it will be the last question. We are going to terminate the webinar.
Hi, I'm Almas Hakim. I'm working at Reinsurance company. Mr. Riley, thank you for taking the time to share your insights with us today. I really appreciate the opportunity to learn from your experience, and thanks to the organizers of this great opportunity. Indeed, your book really helped me understand the reinsurance and fundamentals of reinsurance. Thank you for that. My question is, if you were to update nuts and bolts today, what new topics or challenge?
What would I change? Well, as I said, I would. There are several things actually. The main thing is the question of catastrophe cover, because that now buying proportional reinsurance is not a solution for protecting catastrophe exposure. One of the things I would also like to change, or not change, but perhaps add, and this only really occurred to me recently. When I first started producing treaty wordings, and of course, in those days, the system was different because we used to start with a slip, which was one page, a summary of terms, and then we would issue a cover note to the client, and then we would prepare the full contract insurers or to Lloyd's, wherever. And that was a long process, which happily does not exist. Contract where everything is done at the beginning, which makes an awful lot of sense. The thing that struck me, I used to look at Swiss Munich, and I was thinking, why is the profit commission? It's just, it doesn't contain anything about dividing the profit commissions into separate underwriting years. There was nothing. And I couldn't understand it because I thought, well, we can't operate in that particular way. And what I've realized recently is that the Lloyd's market used to operate, well, still operates, on the basis that each exists for just 1 year. The business is closed after 1 year, and then 2 years later, all of the liabilities are calculated and transferred to the next year. And I think that what I was not really understanding in those days was that most reinsurance companies, the Swiss Re, the Munich Re, Cologne Re, whoever, they simply had a relationship. They took a share of your proportional treaty, and they were there for 10 years. All they would do would be, they would have premiums of
خاطرچش پردیس من ازشون ایمیلی ندارم پردیس ایمیلی داریم به هم بدید که برایشون چیزی داریم
actually care
بچه ها دارم
about when their business was underwritten. And because of the Lloyd's system, everything had to be separated into underwriting years. And I think later on, the various regulators started to catch up with the Lloyd's. They started to say, well, we need to know not just what your outstanding claims are, but you need to know which year those claims apply to, which year those premiums apply to. Because otherwise everything was just kind of rolling on. It was a kind of cash flow situation. And I think that with the accounting methods that began to be introduced in the 1990s, I guess,
الو سلام حال شما خوبستین؟ خانم جنسی؟ من حسینی هستم از بیمه اتکایی تهران مزاحمتون میشم. بیمه اتکایی تهران. سلامت باشین قربان شما، وقتتون بخیر باشه. سلامت باشین. ما یه سری قبولی داشتیم ازتون که بابت صورت حساب تعریف نکردیم، اما ممکنه به دستمون نرسیده باشه، شما زحمتشو کشیده باشین. همون یه فایلی درست کردم من اکسل چند تا که اطلاعاتش هست و ازتون یه آدرس ایمیل خواستم که اینو براتون بفرستم که اگه امکانش هست چک بفرمایید که من همین الان تو صفحه ایمیلم، اگه بگین ایمیلتون رو میزنم براتون بفرستم. بله بله جی بله بله عکسی که نداریم درسته؟ این دم دست من
نه اینو میری کاری
الان ست شد هر سمت رفرش کنی
بله سلام ممنونم بله
آها در فیلم خیلی ممنون متشکرم لطفا سلامت باشید روز خوبی داشته باشید کارهای شما ممنونم خدا نگهدار
And also, we hope to see you in Tehran as soon as possible. Your family is
Thank you, everybody. Goodbye. Good luck. Careers and well, I hope one day the Iranian market is back in the London market. So yeah, I wish you all very well. Everybody enjoy the rest of your day. Bye bye.
زیاد متوجه